Okay, so today we are going to discuss the community of practice. It's a theory which um, is like recently used by a lot of researchers. It is also used in forensic linguistics. When once we'll come to this community of practice, that what is this community of practice, the theory of community of practice, we'll get to know why we use it in different fields of linguistics and why is it used as a theory, not only in gender research but also in other researches. Overall, it is used in sociolinguistics, and you can use this theory. Along with that, we're going to compare this theory with the other theories as well, and this way we'll cover up all the theories, especially which are related to gender theories, and you can use them in as a framework for your study. So, coming towards community of practice, what is community of practice? Community of practice was a theory for the first time developed by Lev and Wenger, who developed it in 1991. And this theory was then uh, okay. This theory was then developed in language and gender by Eckert and McConnell, which was Penelope Eckert and McConnell. So uh, this theory was basically given by Lev and Wenger, and this community of practice was actually the part of the organizations. Means it was a theory used in social sciences, but then this theory was developed and introduced in linguistics, and specifically in language and gender research by Eckert and McConnell. Now, what is community of practice? They define community of practice as uh, an aggregate of people who come together around mutual engagement in an endeavor, ways of doing things, ways of talking, beliefs, values, power relations, in short practices. Now they all are coming to the class. In short, practices emerge in the course of their mutual endeavors as a social construct, C of P, which is the short form that we use for community of practice, is different from the traditional community primarily because it is defined simultaneously by its membership and by the practice in which that membership engages. Now, uh, as in simple words, community of practice is, as the word suggests, community and practice. So community of practice is first the community, that is the group of people who are actually coming together, and they are engaging in some kind of activity, and in that activity they have mutual beliefs, they have mutual agreements on doing things, and like all of these things are done. There are certain ways of doing the things, uh, the way they talk, the way they use language, their values, their beliefs, everything, including power relations, all of them are the part of their practices, right? Whose mic is on? Please switch it off. C of P, which is the community of practice, is 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 different from the other theories which are given. Like for example, we have a social identity theory. It's a bit different from the other theories. However, it encompasses all the aspects of the other theories as well, because it covers a major part of a community. It talks about a major part of the community. It talks about learning. You learn when you are living in a community. This is what social constructionism also talks about. I hope you know about social constructionism theory. If not, then we are going to discuss it in towards the end. So social constructionism also says that society is constructed um, by the way people, communicate, and not just communicate. It's a, a vast theory by the way people live. It was a social theory, but now we use it, as an aspect of language. We can use this theory in our research as well. So um, C of P, that is community of practice, is kind of a membership that a person, an individual, is having with the other people, and the person communicates and does everything in the way that fits that community. Now that community can be the community cannot necessarily be, just the community that we say that Pashto speakers. No, the community can be approached from multiple perspectives. That is, you can a community is a female community as well, a community is male community as well, a community is a community of beggars as well. For instance, one of my students in BS English, I teach them research design, and I have given them tasks that they have to write research papers and I mean term papers. And she came up with a very good topic, and that is the language of beggars. And she is going to analyze the language of beggars, street criers, in her research, in her term paper, which is a very innovative topic. And she's going to approach it from different perspectives. So this is something which is, it's their community. Even when you talk about beggars, they all have same way of doing things, same way of talking, same way of same kind of beliefs, same kind of values, and the way they talk, their conversation, everything is their common interest, everything is similar. And that is why they are the part of a community. I hope you're getting so far. No answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Getting, okay, good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so a community of practice is not just what we, not just what we have. We are born, and then we are, and then we, right from the beginning, we learn. It may change with the passage of time as well. That is, you might become a peripheral member of that group. A peripheral member is a member who is not a core member of the group, means who is not a complete member of that group. A peripheral member is someone who only shares the information, or likes to shares the information with the core members of the group, or is willing to become the part of that group. So for example, if someone is not a beggar, but is in the process or wants to become one, then the kind of, initially the person is going to be the peripheral member, and then later on would become a core member after observing how they work. For example, when someone gets, money, um, and they have become rich, they don't know how to act among rich people, because they are not the core members of those groups. So we have one community of practice, and in that community of practice, which are rich people, we don't know how to act, and what are their values, the kind of, communication they have. But uh, initially they are the peripheral members, and then later on they become the core members of the group, when they are they follow the same things as the core member is already following, right? It was, as I've told you before as well, that the theory was first initially given by Lev and Wenger, and it was given as something which is, as a model of learning. uh, and they actually criticized traditional models of learning, and uh, where the teacher is giving some kind of artificial environment to the students, and the students are learning. Rather than that, they give C of P, and they said that it is the natural environment in which a child, or in which a person or student or anyone learns how to act, what words should be used. I'll give you an example. For example, if we take a traditional class of uh, uh, e let's suppose ESL or EFL. Let's suppose EFL, uh, and and let's just compare it with a person who goes to England and lives there for 2 years, or lives there for a year. Would there be any difference in learning? Obviously, the person is going to know how to act, what to say. The person would become, initially would be the peripheral member, and then would become the core member of that group, as compared to that person. If you who learned something in a natural environment, if you look at a person who is taught by the teachers here in the class how to act, what to say when you are meeting someone, that is, you have to say good morning in the morning, and you have to greet in this way, you have to sit in this way. It's artificial learning, and in that learning, sorry, in artificial environment, it's the learning which is done is not as effective as it would be when it is in a natural environment. And this is what C of P talks about. The community of practice is something which is a natural method of learning, and in that process, a person, once when joins some group, they start learning uh, those those values, way of talking. So for example, if someone gets married to uh, a different community, let's suppose we here have marriages between a Pathan and Hinko speaker, and their way of living, their values are different, the way they act. So when someone is married, they are actually becoming the part of that group, that part of that community, and slowly and gradually they learn how to act in that group, and it is an active involvement in that learning, which is which is a natural method of learning. And as I've already given you the example from English language classes as well. So this is true that it is the part of the sociolinguistic competence as well. That is, you get to know what to say, how to say, where to say, to whom to say something, and what is appropriate to say and what is not appropriate to say in all scenarios. So I'll give you example that very an easy example, that is, in Pathan families, we normally don't shake hands with our male cousins. So if someone who's not accustomed to the way we behave in our community, or we behave in our family, if an outsider comes and newly married, or anyone, and the person instantly extends the hand and says, it's like, to shake the hands with the other person, it would put both of them in a very awkward position. So it is something which is a sociolinguistic competence that you develop with the passage of time, when you are the part of, well, first you're the part of the peripheral member of the group, and then you become the part of the um, core member of the group, and then you understand how you act in a specific society, and what are the values, and uh, you avoid the things that are considered inappropriate. It is the whole learning process that you go through, which may
Ma'am,
yes, yes, yes.
ma'am, could we say that peripheral member are passive participants? Core
Y-
members are active participants.
I don't know about active and passive, but yes, you can say that they are passive because they are not actively involved in bringing change in the values, bringing change in the practices. So you can say that they are the passive participants because they are not actively involved in bringing change in the process. So yes, you can say that because core members can bring change in the practices, even in the language as well, you know, how to say, what to say. So
Excuse
for
me, ma'am.
example, if yes.
Like
Excuse
we
me,
can,
ma'am.
yes, ma'am. Like we can say that they act like introvert and extroverts.
No,
Is it
there's
the
no
case?
no. There's no such thing as introvert or extrovert. Nothing like that. But active and
Okay,
passive,
ma'am.
not in the sense of participating, not in the sense of participating, because peripheral member is also participating in that group, right? Not in the sense of participating, but yes, in the sense of bringing change with the passage of time. So if you're bringing change in the, like, let me give you an example. Now in foreign countries, the concept of this concept of this gay concept was not acceptable before, but then with the passage of time there was some change which was brought by the core members of that community, and those core members of the community brought change, which was then not the peripheral member cannot bring the change in the belief system or values or practices, or all those things that we have discussed. They cannot bring change in the, which also comes in practices, so I'll only use the word practice. They cannot bring change in the practices of a community. So core members can bring change, and that in only in that sense we can call them as active and passive. The rest, as a participant, they
Okay, ma'am.
are participating in the activity. So if I, as a group member of a new family where get married, and with a new family member, I would obviously be a peripheral member, and I'm an active member. I'm learning, I'm continuously learning. I'm applying the same things which the core members are using, and then I would eventually become a core member. But I, as a core member, can bring change in the practices, right? Claire?
Okay, ma'am.
Excuse me, ma'am. I have a question.
Yes.
Ma'am, I joined class late, 10 minutes late. So, differentiate between core member and peripheral member.
Why did
I
you
don't
join
understand.
late?
Ma'am, I was sleeping.
Very good. A, a
Sorry.
peripheral member is the member who is a new member to the group, who wants to become the part of that group and follows the same practices. However, a core member is already an established member of that group. So for example, if we say that a person who is let's suppose a Pathan community, or Hinko speaking community, or Punjabi community, these all are different communities. Along with that, we have communities as a female community and a male community. So communities are not just the traditional communities that we talk about. Communities can be on a micro level, can be on in both levels. So in that sense, it can be, for example, females who are working class, and females who are not working class, means they are housewives. So all these are community. Even rich and poor, they all are communities, different communities, and they all have different community of practice. So I gave an example that if a rich person, if someone becomes rich instantly, with a lot of money, and they don't know how to act in the rich community, but rich community core members already know how to act. When they become they are initially the peripheral members of the group, and then slowly and gradually they learn about how to act in a group, from the core members, and from the, the way every practice is done, activities are done in the context, and then they learn how to act, and they slowly and gradually becomes the core member. But there is a chance that they opt out to become a core member, and they remain as a peripheral member. So there is a chance that they remain peripheral members.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, COP is one way of focusing on what members do, the practice or activity that indicates that they belong to the group or the extent to which they belong. Um, this can be explained easily with the example that, for example, if um, uh, these if someone, if a female is acting more like a man, or a man is acting like a female, we call them transgenders sometimes. So in our society they are not acceptable. So um, what they do is that the practice or activity that they do is, um, because they want to be the part of both groups, right? And to which extent they want to be the part of that group, that would also depend on the way they act. So, and the way they speak. So what they do is that they, when they are not with their own group members, they act not like normal people, like men, or like females. But when they are with their own community, they would act the way the way the core members are acting. Means in the transgender community they would act exactly the way transgender communities are acting, but when they are in our communities they would act to a certain extent the way we act. So they have set their limits for that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
There are three crucial dimensions of C of P that you need to understand. The first one is mutual engagement, and the second one is negotiated enterprise, and the third one is shared repertoire. So, as the word mutual engagement suggests, that mutual engagement means that it is necessary for any person or any member in C of P, that there should be mutual engagement. Means that there should be a regular interaction in the people who are working together or living together, or whichever community they are in, whether they're living together or they are working together, or they're friends, or they are not even friends and just know one another. Just like, for example, we all females or all the males, they know how to act as a male, and they know how to act as and we all females know how to act as females, right? So there should be a regular interaction, right? That is very important in C of P. Otherwise that relationship would not be built. The second one is joint enterprise. Joint enterprise is actually the whole process through which we share goals, and we learn things. This is the whole process of joint enterprise. So for example, uh, as it says that since the members of the policy units were engaged in an ongoing process of negotiating and building their contributions towards the larger enterprise. So for example, if there is a change occurring, or if there is, if I when I was born as a female, slowly and gradually there is this process through which I brought my input into the community of practice. And this whole process is a joint enterprise. So you can say that when we talk about, because we are talking about gender over here as it's a part of gender, but you can take this theory in for different from different perspectives, not just gender, though we are studying it for in reference to language and gender, but you can take it for other other communities as well, if you think you can apply it, because it can be applied to many other aspects as well. So joint enterprise would be, for example, I'm a female, I know how to act, and uh, this whole process in which I have put this effort of how a working lady acts, what the kind of language that she uses, or the kind of dressing, it encompasses everything, the kind of beliefs that they share, everything is all the process through which this is actually the joint enterprise, where we all females who are working ladies have a joint goal. But it is not necessary that all the shared members of the group, at this point it's important, though it's not written over here, but at this point it's important that you understand this thing, that it's not necessary that being a female I would be only the part of one community, and I would be only would act in this process in just one group. No, it can be that I'm acting in acting as in different communities at the same time. So for example, a rich member of a community a rich member of a community may know how to act in gym, because they all go to gym, or they all are the members of um, these games club. So because all rich members at the same time are the part of uh, gym club, or let's suppose these games club, so they know how to act in both of the communities. Or for example, if I am the part of a working I'm a working a lady, and I know how to act in that community. But at the same time, if I'm also the part of Pashtun community, so my acts and my ways of doing things would be determined by that as well. So this has to be determined in mind, that we all as members understand the roles that we play, and this is this whole process that is there right from the beginning, right? And then we have um, the third point is shared repertoire. You all know what is repertoire, and in this shared repertoire we say that uh, you know we know how to communicate meaning, that is the linguistic resources such as specialized terminologies or linguistic routines. um, It may also include pictures or gestures. I have given you the example of gestures, right? In the beginning of the class, that if it's in a Pathan community, so we know how, like, who's going to shake hands with one another. Are they going to shake hands with one another? Are they allowed or not? Male and females are allowed to shake hands or not? Or, all these things are the shared repertoire. So it can be verbal, it can be non-verbal, both. Here in this in this community of practice, when we are studying it from the perspective of gender, you can say that there are certain things that we as females are allowed to do, and we as and we as a part of community are aware of that. Similarly, for males, they know how to act in a society, they know what is appropriate to say, what is inappropriate to say, and all the things which are involved as a part of linguistic routine. that would become the part of shared repertoire. What the what is the language of a shopkeeper, how they communicate, what are the terminologies that they normally use, or what are the terminologies that is used by a boss to a subordinate. There are certain things that are already determined, and that is the shared repertoire, which is I'm left with 10 minutes in this session. Okay, shared repertoire, which is already there. So in a person as a member knows what are the ways to communicate in that specific um, uh, sh- uh, a community of group. I'll give you example of I don't know, the boys, I guess boys would be aware of that. What is marcha? Anyone who knows
I
about
know, ma'am.
marcha? Oh, okay, yes, please tell
Yes,
me.
when you take the you are having something in, I can't give you the detailed explanation of that, but when you're having something and you give it in exchange of something, and you
Mm.
some like you take a little bit money of that, and then you something like this.
Do you know how this word
Ma'am,
started?
Martha means
Yes,
exchange,
yes,
uh,
exchanging of things.
yes,
ma'am, it's a
exchanging of.
barter system in which things are exchanged with each other.
Yes, do you
For
know
example,
how?
you give one thing and
And
in
both
return,
are beneficial for each other.
Yes, yes. Do you know how it started over here in our society, here in, especially in this community? And when it started, this word, to the common community, it was a terminology, it was a jargon.
No, ma'am, we don't know how it started.
The moment when these mobiles were, there, these Android mobiles, and, mobiles started, because previously there were no mobiles. So this term started because they started to use it for exchanging mobiles, and this word started as marcha. And previously only boys were aware of that, and slowly and gradually this term is now used by the females, and they know about it as well. So this is how it started, this marcha word. This is something which is a shared repertoire. And first, it was not the part of the conversation of people who are not in the marketplace, but it was not the part of the layman's conversation as as a as a community of practice, as a member of the community of practice. But then eventually, with the passage of time, because there was this mutual engagement, and along with that, um, joint enterprise, with that, this this very word became the part of this layman's conversation. And then first it was the part of males conversation, community of practice, and then it was the part of the females as well now. And now females are also aware of that. Okay, we'll go to the criterial characteristics of C of P, as uh, some of the points are important to be discussed. I'll go through them. If you don't understand anything, please do ask. If you understand, well and good. uh, Sustain mutual relationships, harmonious or conflictual. uh, I hope you understand what is sustained mutual relationship, that you have mutual relationships with one another. Shared way of engaging in doing things together. The rapid flow of information and propagation of innovation. Innovation is when there is a chance of change coming in the information, right? Absence of introductory preambles, as if conversations and interactions were merely the continuation of an ongoing process. This is, for example, when you're talking to anyone in a community of group, they know few things right from the beginning. Like there is in that specific community of group, you don't need to establish preambles for them, right? Because they are already the part of that group. Very quick setup of problem to be discussed, and substantial overlap in participants descriptions of who belongs, means who is belonging to the group, of that specific group. So there can be overlap in the participants, right? Knowing what others know, what they can do, and how they can contribute to an enterprise. uh, you already know what's the position of a person and what the person can do in a specific community of group or outside that community of group. You are aware of that. For example, we all females are aware that, males are given more authority in our society, and that is why they are and that is why we believe that they have, this we have to be more, you can say, we have to be more docile when it comes to communications in the group, communications in the group. And uh, same is the case with males, that they are a bit, they cannot say more things to their wives a lot, and they know how to act, right? Mutually defining identities, we know that, we can define identities, who is um, who has this identity in a specific community of groups. So if, for example, if it's a boss and subordinate, they know how to define identities mutually. The ability to access the appropriateness of action and products, I hope this is understood. Specific tools, representations, and other artifacts. Only only the people who are the part of the community of practice can understand the specific tools and how to represent them, and other things related to that, including the repertoire. Local lore, shared stories, inside jokes, and knowing laughters. So, for example, if someone is Pathan, or someone is Hinko speaker or Punjabi, they all have their own shared stories, and only they understand it, because when we use even some proverbs, we they uh, they know it, like the community of the community is already aware of those stories. They also know about the jokes as well. So some inside jokes are only known to the people who are the part of that community of group, right? Jargons and shortcuts to communication, as well as jargons you're already aware of, which I've just discussed an example, that is, it's a terminology especially associated to a specific field. So for example, doctors community would only know about different terminologies that they share. So for example, if there is a patient in their ward, and if there is a patient and the patient has no the patient has no something like, there's no problem with the patient, but the patient just for the psychological satisfaction, the person comes to the hospital time and again. So they call them functional patients, and the term is understood among the doctors only. So when they say that it's this terminology, and then they say that only they can understand these terminologies, and that is why we call them jargons. um, Certain styles recognized as displaying membership. So certain styles recognized as displaying membership, even within the female community. If you see, there are certain females with styles, and you can differentiate between them. For example, working ladies, how they act, or there are some females who are very casual, some females who are not casual. So they know how to not just styles of carrying themselves, but the way they communicate as well. We are here concerned with communication, though community of practice can also go for the dressing and anything, everything else, right? But we are over here concerned with the language only. So there are certain styles, the way people communicate, the way people speak. Now, I'll give you an example that If some females, like females are normally polite, and they have this certain styles that are considered appropriate for them to communicate in. However, there are certain females who would be very loud and would shout and would be abusive. These are certain styles which are recognized